Let me tell you a little about our speaker for today, Mr. Evren Ozkaya. Actually, Dr. Evren Ozkaya. He's the founder and CEO of Supply Chain Wizard LLC, a management and technology consulting firm headquartered in Princeton, New Jersey, helping pharmaceutical companies establish and execute cost-effective serialization, track and trace programs, as well as serving broader manufacturing industries with their supply chain strategy and optimization programs. Dr. Ozkaya pioneers and advocates the digital transformation journey for pharma industry by designing and developing software solutions to enable data-driven decision-making and by authoring articles and presenting client case studies in more than 20 conferences per year around the world. Dr. Ozkaya received his Ph.D. in Industrial and Systems Engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology with his award-winning thesis on demand management in global supply chains. Prior to Supply Chain Wizard, Dr. Ozkaya established the global track and trace program at Sandoz, a Novartis company, and led multiple implementation projects in Americas, Europe, and Asia, addressing all active serialization legislations. He also led a supply chain transformation program at Sandoz North America. Before joining Sandoz Novartis, Dr. Ozkaya worked for McKinsey, a company in America's operations practice as a management consultant serving various industries such as healthcare, consumer goods, industrial, logistics, and private equity, helping clients in broader operational strategy, transformation, and capability building topics. Please join me in giving an RBS strong welcome to Dr. Ozkaya.
John, thank you very much for the invitation. Pleasure to be here. I was at Rutgers. Is the sound okay? Yes? Can you hear me from the back? Perfect. So I was at Rutgers about 2.5, 3 years ago, back in 2015. I was invited also to give a speech to the business school, and specifically the supply chain club invited me to talk about supply chain management. But I do this, on top of my work. I come to universities whenever I'm invited, and my whole purpose here is to pass on what I learned in my journey. I don't consider myself already proved myself and accomplished and there. I'm just in the making of making those things happen. So I feel much closer to you than to some of the executives that you might be seeing here that are way into their late career. So I still have fresh memories of where I was sitting in your place, in the undergrad, in the grad school. So I would like you guys to ask me any questions that's crossing your mind. It's also okay to say, I don't know what I'm going to be when I graduate. I want to understand what skills I need in the industry. And what is all these buzzwords about digitalization and IoT and big data? I don't know any of it. Is it a big issue for me? Make it interactive, right? As part of this, it's important that I'm dedicated this hour to you, and I think we have another hour after this, right, for the reception. Ask me, questions that you want to understand, you want to basically learn from. So first, let me know my audience. How many of you are from undergrad, business school? Pretty much all. Anyone from the grad school? One. Okay. Are you here for the free pizza? Because that used to be the only reason that I go to events we used to organize at Georgia Tech. So I want to introduce you about myself first, but here's the agenda that I prepared. It's a pretty loaded agenda. I'm pretty sure that we are not going to cover it all. That's why it's going to be a lot more interactive. The more question you ask, the more you can guide me through it. But the first section, I'm going to cover a little bit about myself and Supply Chain Wizard. What is the journey? What does a young consulting and technology company look like? How do I manage it? How I started it? And then I want to talk to you in the second section about the digital transformations happening everywhere right now in any industry, but specifically for the pharma industry. So of the undergrads now, who is the senior year? Okay, any juniors? Okay, what about the second year? Oh, so it's been mostly second year and third year. So of the juniors, have you done internships already? Who did an internship here already? One? Come on, don't be shy. Two? Maybe three? Okay, so if you take one thing out of my career journey, take this. I did at least 3 internships during my undergrad, and 2 or 3 internships during my grad, depending on how you count it. And that's one of my best times that I learned, and those were the qualifications that got me to where I am today. So now you need to start investing in yourself, and internship is a great way of doing that. So again, another question. How many of you are involved in student clubs, whether it's a business management consulting club? Okay, let me see. 20%, 30%, which club?
Rutgers Finance Society.
Finance Society, very good. Who else?
Co-president of Financial Planning Club.
Financial Planning Club. What do you guys do? You get in a room and start planning?
No, we just
Raise awareness?
yeah, just financial advising, what you need in order for it to be successful in that.
Okay. So I only saw 20% or so students being involved in student clubs. For the remaining 80%, you're doing a big mistake. And that's my second message to you. During the time you're in college, you have to be involved at least with one student club. Take additional responsibilities. And I'm going to tell you, a little bit why. And then the third section, which is probably the most interesting section for you to when you look into your own skill set and career. And if you ever dream of or think about or even touching to consulting business, if you want to be a consultant, I'm going to talk about what are the core skills needed to be a consultant. So has anyone thought about being a consultant when you graduate? Like I'm talking about joining a big consulting firm, maybe like McKinsey and BCG, or some of the financial consulting firms like KPMG. Who wants to be a consultant here? 1, 2, okay. Well, we're going to make it a little bit better at the end of the day. So here's my background. So I started my undergrad at a university called Bilkent University. This is a university in Turkey. I studied industrial engineering. And right after the industrial engineering, I came to the United States and joined Georgia Tech, the Ph.D. program. And I studied supply chain management and logistics there. After, during my PhD at Georgia Tech, I spent a couple of years at Intel Corporation in high-tech manufacturing, working on their supply chain modeling group, trying to simulate what the Intel supply chain looks like. And then I joined McKinsey & Company as a management consultant focusing on the supply chain. And a recruiter one day called me and said, there's a fantastic opportunity in the industry if you're interested. And the hiring manager was a former consultant like myself. And I just jumped on it and said yes, because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something real in terms of owning and leading a complete transformation program in a company like Sandoz, Novartis, a multi-billion-dollar business in the United States. And then 4 years ago, early 2014, I started Supply Chain Wizard. And we are a management consulting company and a technology consulting company, as well as a software company. And our sole focus is the pharmaceutical industry. So why am I here today is to give you a flavor of that journey, what I learned along the way, and then how you can possibly learn from my journey and understand what goes into possibly starting your own company one day. So in the world, this is a world map of pharmaceutical regulations, where right now 88% of the world GDP is covered under some sort of a regulation that requires what we call track and trace. Tracing the pharmaceutical products. So let me grab my water bottle here. So every bottle of product has a barcode on it, right? We are used to seeing barcodes. And what is encoded in this barcode is a batch number. So when a batch is produced, possibly a couple of thousand or maybe 10,000, 20,000 of these bottles are produced, but they are all identical. In the pharmaceutical world, now the governments are requiring us to put a unique serial number on every single pack. This way, you're going to be able to track it from the manufacturing facility all the way to the patient. And you can trace it individually, which increases the patient safety, as well as supply chain traceability. And pharma is really the leader for this because of security needs. So imagine what's happening around the world right now. According to World Health Organization, 10% of the world drug supply is counterfeit. Imagine going to a pharmacy, grabbing your much needed drug, and it's not a real drug. So this is to basically prevent the counterfeiting and tracing in the supply chain so that the patients are getting their safe drugs. So our company starts focusing on implementing the regulation, but what brings as a next stage in the world of pharmaceutical is the value beyond this serialization and track and trace. So supply chain wizard, what do? We have two main business units. One is supply management consulting. That's the track and trace and serialization consulting is one part. The remaining parts are about supply chain consulting, like digital transformation, digital collaboration, as well as some of the buzzwords you might be hearing, the IoT and big data. And the second part of what we do, second business unit, is called software solutions. So today, most of the change happens because we have the right data. We have the right data, we get the right information out of it, and we make decisions based on that data. And in the future, every company is striving to be a software company. Right? Every company, in order to make the change happen, needs to leverage the technology as much as possible. So our company is now trying to combine the consulting business as well as software business and basically lead the way in change. The third business unit we have is the academy, Supply Chain Wizard Academy, and we organize conferences for the pharmaceutical industry to raise the awareness of the emerging technologies. This is our executive team. So I'm going to tell you that in order to be successful in any company, you have to bring a wealth of knowledge from the management side, from the industry, from the technology, and we build together a team that can bring a variety of skill set together to advise our clients. So in a nutshell, Supply Chain Wizard has been growing rapidly. We have now been 4 years in business. This is our 5th year. And with the revenue growth you see without the numbers, we are dramatically growing the business to qualify, hopefully, for the first 500, the Inc. 500 qualification, the fastest growing 500 companies in America. So we have been expanding rapidly in the world. So we started in Princeton, New Jersey here. We opened a couple of offices in Turkey the very next year. Then move over to Europe, in Berlin and Amsterdam, and then expanded a few more offices in Pune, India, and Chennai, India, as well as Miami and London. And here are the couple of clients. I know you guys are not necessarily familiar with the pharmaceutical world, but what is the key message that I'm going to provide you here is building a consulting organization and achieving impact is really requiring that combination of consulting and the software that we brought. A couple of pictures from our office in Princeton, in Izmir, so all these folks working together in different parts of the world. And for me, the biggest proud moment is really when people are working together and making the change happen, and the culturally, creating that synergy and collaboration to making a change happen. So as part of my job, I basically work and join conferences to tell what we are doing in multiple places. So for example, I was in London earlier this year, Paris last week. And my job really got me to multiple places all around the world. So I'm gonna skip a couple of. Okay. So question for you. So how many flights do you think that I took since the beginning of Supply Chain Wizard in 4 years in order to build a global consulting company? 50. 50. Okay. That's one guess. 40, okay, getting lower. 169, very precise. Do you have an algorithm running in there? Imagine that I start a company in US, but then expanded quickly to global, and I had to be in different client locations. Okay. How many? Somebody said 300? 300, okay. Anybody else?
1,000.
Well. So, actually, I am tracking my time. I'm tracking every single flight that I take. And I just put the numbers together yesterday. And what you said, 300, is pretty close. And what I realized, there's this app called, I'm going to show you, I forgot the name of the app, but you can load all your flights, and then it gives you all the statistics. And this is basically what I did in the last 4 years. 330 flights. Most of them are international flights. And I've been through 60 airports. Well, I should say, few of these flights are for pleasure. So it's just using my points to go to some fun places like Philippines, for example, for diving. Been to 25 countries. It says 55 cities in 4 continents. According to this app, I have covered 560,000 miles. And that makes enough miles to turn around the world 22.5 times. And I didn't know this until last night when I was putting together the slide. It actually covers the whole distance to the moon and back, because it's 234%. So according to this, I didn't know this app existed, but you can load your flights and make it visualize and create insight out of any data with your flight data. So this is what it took to build Supply Chain Wizard as a global company. And I want to share what the learnings are, but I want to understand in your years what you want to do when you graduate, what you want to do next year. If you're a second year, you're going into third year, what you want to do in your third year. What are you spending time on today? What are you learning? How much time and effort you're investing to yourself? How many minutes of reading you're doing, for example? Anybody has an idea? What do you want to do when you graduate? Anybody wants to tell me? And what's your name?
I want to work as a Supply Chain Wizard.
Welcome. We're hiring. Why?
Because I want to get into consulting.
Okay. What type of consulting?
Consulting that helps, with problems that management have.
Problems with the management. So you want to help companies solve their problems. Okay, so, well, he knows what he wants to be. Give me other examples. What do you want to be when you graduate? Do you already know? Who doesn't know what job or what type of job you want to have when you graduate? Who doesn't know? Be candid with me. I didn't know in my first and second year. Okay, so which means that 90% of you know exactly what you want to be. You don't know.
Yeah, although I'm studying master's here, I still couldn't figure out what should I do in the future. So it's getting more scary as long as you keep.
Yeah. Do you feel that, oh my God, I'm missing out on so many different buzzwords, there's so many things happening, I have no clue, I'm not an expert on anything?
Exactly. I mean, as long as you have more information about the professional world and more knowledge about it, you kind of feel more ambiguous about it.
And then you kind of shy out of hey, there's a lot of things to learn, it's very difficult, let me find something easy.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, who else? Who exactly knows what you want to be when you graduate? What do you want to be?
Financial advisor at Merrill Lynch.
Financial advisor down to the name of the company, Merrill Lynch. There you go. So what are you doing about it?
Co-president of the Financial Planning Club.
Yep.
Networking a lot. A lot of networking. Currently, basically customer service representative banker at a bank, which got me into the financial advising industry.
Nice. So you're investing in your time and effort. Okay. Exactly. So I wish I knew what I wanted to be, as early as you were. I knew that I want to be in supply chain because the moment I listened to a presenter talking about supply chain management, I was fascinated because it was global. And you see, if you don't like flying and seeing new cities and places, this is not a job for you. Like this weekend, I switched 3 planes to come back to New Jersey. I was in 3 cities in Europe last week. But if you know what you want to do, if you're passionate about what you want to do, this is not an issue for you. So as part of my time tracking, I also track my day, my average day, a typical day of a consultant. So I want you to look at this data and tell me how nice looking is it to you? Do you like the way a consultant spends the day? Let me see some initial reactions. Do you think it's a good day?
I mean, how long are you sleeping?
You're asking personal questions, my friend. 6 hours and 55 minutes a day.
Okay, then it's all right.
Then it's all right. Okay, so he likes it. He wants to be a consultant. Who thinks this is a nice schedule?
That's per day. It's a lot of travel.
That's per day. It's a lot of travel, right? That's a good observation. What else? Do you think it's a nice life? I work, 6 hours and 45 minutes a day?
Do your friends miss you?
Sorry?
Do your friends miss you?
Yeah, don't tell me about it. We can talk about over drinks later, but yeah. So I do a lot of travel. That's actually 14.5% of my life goes to traveling. I presented this in a couple of universities, by the way. I mean, many people liked it. You work 6 hours and 45 minutes a day. That's cool. I like to be a consultant. Make more money than you make in the industry. But what is missing here? Like,
Leisure.
leisure. Come on, I spend that. My leisure time is with my family.
Gotcha.
I have a 5.5-year-old daughter, so she calls me back every time I'm traveling. Luckily, we have FaceTime and all that stuff nowadays. So, but here, nobody noticed something like, what is wrong with this day?
Just no, studying or anything, reading of that nature, maybe in the industry.
Well, that all goes into my work. So when I was asked the question, like, man, you don't have life, you don't have work-life balance, I felt the need that I need to respond with the data. Like, I didn't know, I know I work a lot, but I didn't know the data. And I did put this together. Only 28% of my life is only work. To me, that's pretty reasonable work-life balance, right? I work less than 8 hours a day, on average. I make a lot more money being a consultant. I guess you guys are not catching it yet. This is my average day out of a 365 days. That includes weekends. That includes Thanksgiving and Christmas. That includes every one of those 365 days. So I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but that's my average day. It doesn't mean like every day is the same as the next day, but if I spend this time, I'm spending consciously. I know when I'm traveling, I know when I'm working, and this is the balance. So if you increase this number to a typical workday, that can go up to 10, 11 hours maybe. But only one guy or two said that he knows what he wants to do, then you need to be prepared for what your job is requiring from you. Doesn't mean that you have to work 16-hour shifts, but if you know what you're doing, you need to know how to invest your time to get ready. And if you're an entrepreneur like me, then you can set your own schedule. A question here.
How many days out of the week would you be gone traveling though? Because I was interested in consulting and I spoke to somebody else and they told me that they were gone 4 days out of the 7. So like how would that work for you?
Well, when I was at McKinsey, I was traveling Monday through Thursday every week, most of the weeks. Right now, I'm traveling maybe 1 week. I'm not traveling 2 weeks. I'm traveling, again, another 2 weeks and not traveling 1 week. So again, my client schedule drives my calendar, but it's up to me to say yes or no. So I don't want to create an impression that, the consulting job requires you to work a lot more than a typical job. But in the new world, you're all going to be working a lot anyway. So you need to pick what you want to be, and you need to start investing your time in getting your skills ready for that. And I wonder, for those of you who know what you want to be, how you're investing your time. I already had heard one example. What was your name?
Vitaly.
Vitaly? So give me another example. Who knows what job you're going to take at the end of college? Okay, it's a lot of shy people here.
I might do law school, but
Law school, okay. So the key question is, are you consciously investing your time today to get ready for the career that you want? And are you following what's happening in the industry? Are you staying relevant? Because earlier today, with your dear professors, I was having lunch conversation. They asked me the same question. What are you looking for in candidates? Right? When I graduated from McKinsey back in 2011, we weren't talking about digital transformation. There wasn't that many buzzwords around like digital. Now, everything became digital. So we have to relearn and constantly educate ourselves. So what you're getting as an education here is just the basis, the fundamentals. You need to keep learning, and in order to learn, you need to keep managing your time. So I took the time management to an extreme, so I can give you statistics like this, but you need to be constantly aware of your time management and how you're spending your time, and invest your time because that's your most valuable asset, because once it's gone, it's not coming back. And you don't know how much of that you left, right? And I'm going to give you, some of the examples of how I spend my time. But there was another question here? No? Okay. So enough about, supply chain wizard, talking about me, my time. And by the way, how I became a consultant is totally, coincidental. I was a management consulting club vice president, so I was organizing the mock interviews, and one of these interviewees, like another peer student, said to me, Evren, hey, are you serious about these consulting companies? If you're serious, you have to work really hard for it. You know that, right? I said, I guess, because I'm organizing these events. But no, you really need to work hard on it and get ready for the interviews. If you don't get ready for the interviews, once you cannot get into the top tier consulting, they're not going to consider you again next time. And I basically work at least 1 full month every day preparing for it. And that practice paid off in getting me into McKinsey and getting some offers from BCG. And Bain was the only one who didn't give me an offer. But I'm trying to say that you are the driver of your own time. You need to consciously know how much you're spending and in what direction. And in order to prepare for yourself, especially in a business school, you guys will be leading the business world in the next many years. You need to upskill yourself and learn about what's happening in the market. So who knows anything about big data analytics, or at least heard about it? Okay, only a few. You have to learn about it. Who heard artificial intelligence? Yeah, that's becoming more popular. Who heard machine learning? Okay. Who heard IoT sensors, Internet of Things sensors? Few. Okay. So you guys already have a lot of homework out of today that you need to learn all these concepts and how it applies to the business. I'm going to show you with some examples of how we see the transformation in the business world happens, right? I talked to you about the track and trace regulation in pharma. So that's something that starts with this barcode. It's a unique serial number. It allows us a traceability of a product. Then the transformation in business, in digital transformation, the way we call it, happens over 3 Ds. The first D is data. Data in everything that you do. As a company, companies have data on their products, in their processes, in their supply chain, their consumers, Facebook. Some of you visited Facebook, right? Recently, all the data, personal data. So the world is now having a lot of data, and collecting the right data for your business is of critical importance. Otherwise, you don't have the right knowledge to act on. So the first D of transforming a business digitally is a D, data. The second D is dashboard. And what dashboard means is taking the data that is collected, that can be considered big data, transforming into a data visualization, a chart, an insight, a trend, a pattern, a prediction, something that gives you insight. You're not going to sit there and analyze 1 million data points. But you're going to look at a chart and say, oh my God, Evren's travel is increasing 20% year over year. What is your wife saying about that? Right? There's an insight, a dashboard. The third D of a digital transformation is the decision. And unless you take the data, turn into insights, and use that insight to make a decision and a change in behavior, you're not going to make any impact to any business. And decisions are things like, for example, how to put a schedule together for the factory, how to route a truck in the supply chain, how to allocate the right resource for the right project. Those are decisions. Now, in the past, people are driving this. Data collector people. People are putting pen and paper together and writing their names and logs of what happened in the factory. It's changing now to digital logbooks. The dashboards. Everything is now becoming like available on your iPad and driven by the data that is constantly coming in. You are seeing your own dashboards on your Facebook profiles and your Twitter or whatever, right? And then the decision is the most important. So many companies, many people think the data analytics, data science, it just stops there, and that now if you know data science, you get a job. Well, of course you have a job, but the real transformation happens with data, dashboard, and decisions. And according to the McKinsey research last year, they analyzed across all the industries, and what they found is the biggest future impact on revenue and EBITDA growth comes from the digitization of supply chain function. And they analyzed the digitalization level of every function. Marketing was the number one. Supply chain was the last one. So when you put those two together, if you invest in supply chain digitization in a company, it gives you the biggest impact in your future growth of revenue and EBITDA. So combining this story together with the digital transformation of supply chain, there's a lot of opportunities here for the future leaders like yourselves to learn about what goes on in a supply chain world in any industry. You don't need to go work for pharma, but this 3D transformation is applicable everywhere. In order to enable that transformation, at Supply Chain Wizard we have this software platform where we put traceability, track and trace in the center. And then we have digital supply chain solutions that helps digitally manage the suppliers and customers on an online platform. We have digital factory solutions that help digitize the factory operations and then move along down to warehouse, digital transport, digital retail, and digital project management. So that's how we contribute towards digitizing the world of supply chain management to make that transformation happen. So do you know anyone in your close circle who lost their job to automation or outsourcing or anyone? Few? Yeah, what type of a job was it?
Oh, they used to work at Amazon.
Amazon? Doing what?
I think it was packaging.
Okay, and he or she is replaced with a packaging machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What other examples?
It was my girlfriend's dad. He got outsourced by a different company from India.
Okay.
Manager.
Outsourced, okay. What other examples? Do you guys fear that whatever job you don't know you're going to get, by the way, 90% of you said, I don't know, might actually be subject to being lost to digitization and automation? Any of you fear that? Who fears that the jobs that you're studying to get may actually disappear in the 5-10 years' time or more? Yeah? The rest of you don't fear about this? Come on. So I sit in one day in one of these flights, in a Turkish Airlines flight, a domestic flight from from Istanbul to Ankara, and next to me, and here's the scary story, right? So I'm a very observatory person. I observe a lot around what people are doing, whatever. So I sit down in the middle seat. The guy in the aisle seat sit next to me, and just before we take off, he just jump up and pull up the iPad and then start opening a PDF and reviewing something on the PDF. And I just look down in here, and it was like something about how to land a plane. I said, okay. Like, why are you looking at the iPad and like scrolling and then frantically, right? You're looking at the outline and then going into, okay, how to save the plane from a stall, like if the plane stops in the middle and Okay, how to land it in a short runway. I said, that's it, like my heart is pounding. I see you understand where this is going, right? So we're about to take off. The guy next to me, I'm looking at like, you don't look like a terrorist, but, and then I look at the security card in front of me. It says like Boeing 747, and then look at his iPad. It was saying Boeing 747 menu. I said, that's it. I'm about to either call it like to the flight attendant that this guy might be, a potential problem for us, or my second gut instinct was, I said, are you a pilot or what? And the guy said, oh yeah, I'm studying my exam. I'm in the last course right now with Turkish Airlines. I'm a future pilot. I'm just running through my exam. And I asked a few more questions because my father used to be a pilot in the Air Force, so I know a few jargon. And I trusted the guy. Once I trusted the guy, my heart returned back to normal beating, and then we were like having a conversation. And I asked the question like, what is your job is going to look like when you graduate and get this? Do you fear that your job might be gone to automation? He actually said, yeah, I think our batch would probably be the last one flying the planes, because right now the technology is so advanced that planes are doing majority of the work anyway. And take it to the car industry. There's already self-driving cars out in the market. So what jobs we are going to do? Isn't this a fundamental question you should be asking yourself? Like, let's say you work so hard and you get yourself an accounting degree and then replaced by an accounting software. You work so hard and you became a super talented dispatcher, replaced by Uber. 2 years ago, I wrote an article called Self-Driving Supply Chain. It's on my LinkedIn post. You can go take a look at it. And I see as things are moving forward, everything is being self-driving. If the cars can self-drive, why not supply chains? And last week, I was in Paris in a conference, innovation conference, where Microsoft executives and Siemens executives were all presenting about AI. What I realized that not only supply chains can be self-driving, the whole companies can be self-driving. So what are you guys going to do? Whatever skill that you think you're getting right now may expire before you graduate. I didn't know any of these skills that I have today from my college days. So you have to be very purposeful about what you want to be, what skills you build in yourself, and constantly improve your skill set. So I'll give you examples of these technologies and what drives the future. So these, for example, sensors, temperature, humidity sensors, location sensor, the gateway, some of the IoT technologies that now you can plug and play in a factory, in a shipment, in a warehouse, wherever, and it starts giving you data. Like every second it sends data. That's why they call it big data. And then the shifts in the industry, especially in the life sciences, there are technological shifts, and the top 3 I listed here. The digital infrastructure. All these systems putting in place and IT connectivity between the systems. These are the major technological trend. The second, Industry 4.0. Have you heard about Industry 4.0? Anyone? That's more like used in Germany. That's another homework item for you to look it up. Real-time tracking. Did you know that your iPhone is tracking you every second, even if it's off?
Yeah.
Yes?
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, I learned it lately. So if you're being tracked, why not the packages in the shipments? UPS is tracking them. Why not the processes in the shop floor? Why not the people's work that they do? It's being tracked. So the real-time tracking technology is not just for you, but for products and processes. Combine everything, now everything is traceable. And the business intelligence and advanced analytics, all these advanced sophisticated technologies to make use of the data and come up with the right optimal decisions. So all these technological changes are driving business changes. End-to-end collaboration. Companies like suppliers and customers are collaborating more through online channels. I work with companies like Walmart, for example, as a customer because I was the supplier to them. They have a big, massive portal called Retail Link. And they manage their entire supplier base through the Retail Link portal. It's a digital collaboration platform. Granular supply chain visibility. We might know, let's say I'm the consumer, I got this product in my hand now, I scan this and I find out the whole history of this in the supply chain. I know how many days it sit in the warehouse, which carrier bring it to me, which retail I bought, which manufacturer produced it, who was producing it at the shop floor. Everything will be traceable. And imagine the things that you can do with that type of information at the unit level. And then the data-driven decision making. Pricing, like you go online and buy a flight ticket, like the theme of the day, flights. It keeps changing, right? It optimizes based on the demand and supply. How do they do that? People don't do it. Algorithms does. Sorry? Invisible hand, yeah. You can believe invisible hands, but a lot of invisible algorithms are running in the back end. I bought Alexa. Who has an Alexa at home here? Yeah, actually good penetration, like 10% plus already. It's pretty scary, right? In the early versions of it, it started like singing something in the middle of the night. For us, we like to pull the plug. But now it understands every single thing that you say, even my Turkish accent.
No, just cracking my knuckle.
Oh, you're cracking your knuckles, okay. So these are the trends that you need to be aware of. Who watched the movie Moneyball? Okay, another homework for you. If you didn't, you have to go and watch it. It's obviously, it's Brad Pitt, right? But more than that, it's a data-driven decision-making in how to put a team together at the lowest cost that wins the titles. Using data and statistics. Who is a soccer fan here? Who knows? Who heard about Real Madrid? Okay, we have a lot of soccer guys. Microsoft partnered with Real Madrid and now tracking every single player. Individualized performance of every player, so the coach is not just looking at this whole field and focusing here and forget looking at here. Like real traceability of every player's every action and giving personalized feedback. And now, Real Madrid is obviously always a top scorer team, but they're getting even better. Formula One, of course, all these things, I'm going to share the slides later. There are links behind them. You can go on YouTube and watch the small clip to see what that transformation is digitally. Anybody ride on Uber or Lyft? Or anybody hasn't yet? Okay. So I did it when I was in Italy. I was trying to catch a flight. I didn't use any of this technology, but for 30 minutes, no taxi picked me up. It was all busy, busy, busy. I'm about to lose my, miss my flight. I downloaded the app. I had the Uber. I caught the flight. I saved $1,500 flight ticket. And since then, I'm a big fan. I use it everywhere globally. And so from a supply chain perspective, the mission of supply chain is the right product, the right quantity, at the right time, right quality, and right price. If you see what Uber did, although it's a technology company, they have a right product, like a single taxi at the right quantity, one taxi, not half, not two, only one. Make the order, 3 to 7 minutes. If you're in New York City, it's 1 to 2 minutes actually. Everybody's an Uber driver in New York City nowadays. You have the feedback mechanism, so you know that the quality would be high. It's clean cars, high quality, otherwise they don't get much business. And it's the half price, or at least significant discount. So they figured out how to solve a supply chain problem with technology and digitalization. And I compare that to our dear old pharma industry. And I see all sorts of issues. We make the stock, millions of dollars of products goes unused, expired, thrown away. Huge batch sizes, very long lead times, a lot of quality issues, FDA warning letters, and a lot of asset-intensive high investment. So question for you, do you think Uber will approach towards pharma supply chain or pharma supply chain will approach towards Uber in the future? Exactly, so which type of skill set you think you need to start learning to be relevant in the future? You need to learn how Uber is doing it. And they're not doing it with anything but algorithms. If you have 10 years of experience in pharma, have no clue how the technology works, you're not a good consultant for my company. For those of you who didn't raise the hand, I don't know if because you're shy or something, that I don't know IoT, I don't know machine learning, I don't know, like, you better know. So here's some client examples. I mean, we work with some of the largest companies in the world, 9 out of the top 15 global manufacturers. Teva is, actually, Shen, you were asking me about Teva just a few minutes ago, is the #1 company. We help Teva manage 800 plus suppliers they have globally through our digital supply chain portal. We help a company called Par Pharmaceutical, the #4 or #5 manufacturing now by volume and value in the United States. They're in New York, in Chestnut Ridge area, to transform these factory operations. And we have a few other examples of how we help other companies. It's not the point. I just try to tell you that the technological change and transformational change, they are real, they're happening. And if you're not leading the change, then you're subject to change. And you're not even participating in the change, then you're going to be a 100% consumer. And sideline, you're bystander, watch what's going on, don't even know what's going on. And you're not hireable if you stay that way. Example from PAR, this is the journey that we prepared for PAR, multiple applications on the same concept, data dashboard decisions, collecting more data digitally instead of hundreds of paper-based logbooks, digital logbooks. Manage the performance with these labor tracker and OE tracker, and the decision tool called scheduler. And I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like. So this is from OE tracker. Imagine you're a factory executive, you're looking at your line operations are running down, the root cause analysis of why the lines are down. You know how many millions of dollars they spent every year on equipment replacement? And how do they do equipment replacement? Somebody in the operation said that this machine is no longer good, we need to replace it, $1 million. How do you know it's not good? Well, anecdotal evidence that just keeps breaking. What do you mean keeps breaking? If it's like free to repair and instant repair, I would repair it until perpetuity. How to make database decisions so that you optimally change the equipment when it is due, and you constantly monitor it, not on an annual cycle. So here's an example of we are training them on the shop floor, and we actually write a case study on the Healthcare Packaging magazine about how they improve their efficiency by digitally tracking their the factory packaging lines and improving their efficiency by 10 to 20%. Like close to zero investment, just a minor software as a service and IoT devices. And this is you can read it later. Here's the decision-based on decision solution. I'm going to give this as a last example, then I will end with, because I know we are running out of time, with the skills, the 2 skills that I mentioned to you about that you would need the most. So today, Rutgers Business School, you're doing class scheduling, right? Is someone doing it, or you're using a software?
We have a new software that's going to optimize it.
You have a new software. There you go.
And the optimization is going to be based on bus routes in New Brunswick.
Okay.
No, I know this from the overall university. We've been doing it by hand, using spreadsheets, since the 70s.
I wish I knew it before. I can basically sell you the scheduler. Before.
Another consultant already beat you to it.
Okay, no, sounds good. We're not focused on education industry anyway. But here's the thing. Manual, human-based scheduling. Use a spreadsheet. There are some pros, like you can receive and process unstructured data. You're smart. You can say, make this happen, is a good comment for you. If you say to a machine, make this happen, it's like, make what happen? Like, what do you mean? Give me specifics. But humans, however smart you are, even if you're Stephen Hawking, you cannot process millions of constraints and the data. You cannot reflect on the results of your schedules, but computers can. Computers cannot incorporate domain knowledge because they're just machines. If you combine the two, you get the best of both worlds. You schedule with the machine, you add, you track it with a machine, and then you add the human intelligence to tweak it and make it better. And this way, you combine the human and machine together and get the best results. And in the future, your jobs will be with a cobot, what they call collaborative robot, or a machine or an algorithm that you need to get along well. You can't just be against the change, you would probably be overruled by it. So here's a visual representation of a factory schedule for March 2017, real data. 200 work orders, 9 packaging lines in each week. We are scheduling. This is like probably similar to your class schedules, right? And in between each batch, there is this cleanup and setup, which we need to invest to get this line ready for the next operation. So if a human does it, a simple algorithm, like put it in the first available spot, the cost of running this operation is around $541,000. Very moderate assumptions. And of this, $136,000 is overtime, which means Saturday shift, you see here. I couldn't finish it by March 31st, so I have to run on Saturdays to catch up. This is a human scheduling simulated. If I let my algorithm schedule this, my algorithm considers every constraint and considers the transition between product 1 to product 2 in all combinations and schedule products back to back. So I only do minor cleanup setup because the products that I'm running are similar or the same. When I rearrange all my schedule, I run the same schedule at about 15% less cost, eliminated the overtime. If you extrapolate the savings, it's $1 million savings for the factory. Nobody is laid off. The same people, they just don't work in the Saturday shift or the third shift, which they're getting paid extra, by the way. And if the people are getting used to getting paid extra, they love the Saturday shift. So you have to make some change management happen to adopt this solution. Or if you run the same algorithm, but this time, instead of minimum cost, you do it minimum time, you finish the entire workload by day 16. You create half of the schedule for free. Well, it costs you a little bit more because of extra overtime, but you can produce and double your volume at a minor cost increase. So now, after 30, 40, 50 years of manual scheduling, Rutgers is moving to a software-based scheduling. So is the world of pharmaceuticals or any industry. OK, I'm going to skip this and tell you and end with this slide because I think we're running out of time. So after thinking hard on my journey, the companies that I worked at, my own skills, I came down to this conclusion. The only 2 skills that you need to be successful in any career, consulting or otherwise, is by learning, problem solving, and presenting. It's the same thing when you go to your, throughout your career, you would be spending bulk of your time doing something, and the remaining of your time showing what you did or communicating. Same for the companies. We are producing assets or products or knowledge, and we are selling it. The problem-solving skills, I used to think they're equally important, 50-50, but over many years I came to realize that presentation skills and communication skills are even more important. So if you're leaving with one thing here, besides all the homeworks that I've given you in learning new technologies, what's going on in the industry, and whether or not you have a safe job, and join the student clubs and invest time, you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in problem-solving skills, and it comes much, much better with practice. And you have to learn in your presentation and storytelling skills. If you invest in yourself, if you learn how to learn, if you learn how to change, like the famous scientist Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, it's the fittest who is the most adaptable to change. And your career, you will be only successful if you're most adaptable to change and you're constantly learning. And if you need to learn 2 skills, make them problem-solving and presentation skills. So, thank you.